do not be afraid. Go and tell your brothers to meet me in Galilee. This is one of the more powerful parts, I think, of the resurrection accounts, is that as they are leaving, Jesus, the risen Jesus, meets them on their way and then assures them that he will be with them and that to meet him there. Now, what is Galilee? Galilee is more than just a location, a physical location. Galilee is where the disciples first met Jesus. They first fell in love with Jesus, and they first came to follow Jesus. In other words, the disciples are called to go back to the roots, go back to who they were when they first met Jesus, and to remind them to fall in love with Jesus again. That's the ultimate call for all of us. And in particular, Pope Francis called the whole church to that sense of calling us back to the roots of who we are. He kept on bringing us back to Jesus. He kept on calling us back to primarily his mercy, his love, and his joy. I always remember his first encyclical, the book he gave was the Book of Joy, or not Book of Joy, the Gospel of Joy. He talked about how important it is to be men and women of joy. And he has lived that in his papacy over these long years. He brought us back to the heart of Jesus, that Jesus was one that welcomed all and he invited all into his fold. He insisted that we as a church needed to be more like a field hospital than a museum where we put together fancy liturgies. Instead, he wanted us to be a field hospital where we go out to the existential peripheries and to fold those back into who we are. We will miss him dearly because of his incredible humility and love of the poor. He called us to love the poor and to love the earth with which we have been given, and to love all people, even if they, maybe especially when they don't agree with you. Our friends, today, it is hard to hear the news of Pope Francis. He is a beloved figure for us, but at 88, he certainly ran the race and finished it well. He did a great job in leading us. It's up to us now as this next generation to take up his call for synodality, to walk with people and encounter the Christ in each other. It's for us to take up the call and to bring his mercy to the most furthest recesses of the world, the existential peripheries, those who don't feel welcome, those who don't are feeling both themselves and others will make them feel unwelcome. We are called to make them welcome, to encounter and walk with people, and to have them experience, once again, God's loving mercy. But the hallmark for me of Pope Francis's papacy is his joy. He tried to live that joy, even though he was caught up in a place he didn't really want to live, which was in the Vatican. He got himself a little cottage. If you don't know, the little place called Santa Marta. He lived over on the side so that he could have 4 or 5 different exits and entrances, so nobody knew where he was coming and going. That was his trick. Whereas the Vatican apartments was very on its own, locked in, and everyone had so many guards. Where this one had 4 or 5 entrances, no one could find out what he was doing and who was he talking to. That was part of his joy. He kept his joy by being unpredictable, because he believed that God was a God of surprises, good surprises. My friends, let us be part of his legacy, that we are men and women of mercy, men and women of love, men and women of inclusion to bring people in from all sides, but most of all, men and women of the joy of the gospel. May he rest in peace. Amen.